In the next 50 minutes, I'm going to introduce you to Adobe Xd, a software made to create templates for web applications.
Welcome on this tutorial about Xd. What is Adobe Xd? It's a software that helps you to create products for web application. So basically, you can also create stories for social media. You can do design, etc., etc. Adobe Xd has been created to help product manager, product owner, also of course designer, graphic designer, UI designers to create templates that developers can later use and to prototype those templates. So the main difference with Photoshop or Illustrator is that Xd is really oriented on the web, not necessarily oriented on designing graphics, banner, stories, reels, whatever. It's basically oriented product. And this is why this is a very good software. It's because it has been thought, it has been built, especially to create web templates. So me personally, I already got Xd installed, but if you don't have the Adobe suite, you have to go on adobe.com and subscribe. There is a price monthly. I don't remember how much is it, but it's not very expensive and it's really worth it, because when you pay this monthly subscription, you have access to all the Adobe suite. So the Adobe suites, it's Acrobat Pro, Photoshop, Premiere Pro, Illustrator, After Effects, etc., etc. And the one we are going to use today is Adobe Xd. So design, prototype, share user experience for web, mobile, voice, and more. All right. So once you have the Adobe Creative Suite, you are supposed to be able to, let's open it, maybe it's over there. Creative Cloud, that's right. This is the okay. I have to update it, like always. Such a bad introduction to Adobe Xd. Whatever. Yeah, once you get it, you are supposed to be able to launch Adobe Xd. And there we go. When you launch Adobe Xd, you arrive on this little window. So down there, I already got my projects open, all right? But we see that there is a button New File, and what I like the most is that you already got layouts that you can use. So here we see that we can create like a working space for iPhone and different version of iPhone. So if you are developing for mobile, it could be great. You can directly create for the web, but you can also create Instagram stories, Twitter header, video, YouTube, etc., etc. Or you can have a custom size. So let's click on New File. And when I click on New File, by default, I arrive on the main dashboard of Adobe Xd. Okay? So the main dashboard of Adobe Xd, okay, it's composed of course, a main working space, which is here, and two side panels. All right, those two side panels in here, it's composed of tools that you can use to put elements in there. And when you change the tools, if you look at the right sidebar, you see here that sometimes it can change. And here we see that I can add another space. Okay, so here I'm on a web 1920 pixels large, and if I remember well, it's, yes, 1080 pixel 8. So it's the basic screen of every desktop. And we see here that when I click on it, there is this green background in here and the white screen that we have. When I click on it, we see that I can move it. Okay, so this screen is not locked. If you try to zoom out, you see that you can zoom in or zoom out into the screen. You can move because Adobe XD has been thought to add other, other what we call artboard. And if you click in here, on artboard, we see that, there is this little button, and what I can do is that I can select down here, for instance, iPhone 13, 12, Mac Pro Max, and I got the size just in here. If I click on it, directly I would have another screen next to it. And if you start UI UX design, you would answer directly that you have to translate a web application into a mobile application. Okay, so basically here we are supposed to have a website, and here we could say, okay, I want to design the website responsive. So for those who don't know responsive, it's the way a website is going to adapt itself to the screen. I would like to design my website for an iPhone 13 and iPhone 12. And this is what I like with Adobe XD, is that at the end you could have several versions. Let's say that now you want to, so you don't see it because I'm just behind it, but here there is a big list that we saw before. So maybe if I'm doing this, there we go. If I do again iPhone 13, iPhone, etc., etc., we see that at the end I could have several versions of my application. And this is what I like a lot with Adobe XD. It's that I can multiply, I can multiply all the screens that I want to use for later. But also what I can do, I'm not obliged to use this little button hardboard. I could copy paste directly my screen, and let's say that all the screens of my desktop application will be here on the left. So when I move my screen, you see that there is this magnet, and this magnet is showing me the middle and is sticking to where I place the elements. So this is another thing that I like a lot with Adobe XD, is that you can create several elements like this, move them, and as you see here, I got padding and margin showing there. So for those who don't know what is padding and margin basically, and maybe I could show it directly on the web, margin padding maybe on an image, and let me grab that here. There we go. In web application, you have what we call margin, border, padding, and the element itself. All right. So the element itself here, we've got the size which is here. It's 1920 10,080 pixels. And then you get the padding, and the padding, this is what is around. What is actually around the element inside of it. It means that my element, which is 280 pixels, has 40 of padding on every side. It means that his real side, it's 40 plus 200 plus 40 on the width. Okay, so the padding, it's the space from the borders inside the element. Okay, and the margin, so the border, it's the border of the element. So if you get 30 pixels here, you get to add 30 pixels to 40 to 200 to 40 to 30 to get our real element. Okay, because the border it's supposed to be calculated with the element. But the space outside that we see here, this pink space that is created just in here, you see this pink? Here it's the margin. It's the space outside the element to another element next to it. And this is how we work in web. Sometimes you want to have space inside, so you have padding, and sometimes you want to have space outside, you have margin. Okay? All right. So let's get back. We've got our artboards in here, and that is amazing. Okay? So what I'm gonna do now is that I'm gonna use those tools that we got in here. Okay, I'm gonna use those tools, and those tools will help me to create elements. So first, rectangle. We've got the rectangle in here, and we see that I can create a rectangle. Okay, so let's say I'm going to create this rectangle. And when I create my rectangle, on the right side, I got all the options that I can use. I can change its size. I can say if I want it to be responsive resize or no. We will see that later. I can say that I want it to be on a certain amount of opacity. I can say that I want to have rounded corners. So if you look, I change it right now and I got rounded corners. I can say that I want to change his inside color. So I'm going to put a blue. I can say that I want to change his border, and I want to have a thick border of 30 pixels. I want it to be dashed. I want to have a gap, and this gap here we will show. There we go. Okay, you've got all these elements that helps you to create all this button that helps you to create the right element you would like to have. Okay, you also got inner shadow, so you can create shadow inside. You got a drop shadow, you can create a shadow outside, which is often used in some web application. You can also create a background blur. Okay, all right, and you can down here check mark for export, because later we will see that we can export every element like this. Okay, it's the same for the round. Okay, if you want to create a round, it's the same for the triangle. It's the same for the line. And actually, most of the time, you will have almost the same UI options in here. Okay. And of course, if you want to select elements, you can select them, move them, you can reduce them, whatever you want to do with your UI. Then you got also this pen that helps you to draw, okay, forms. All right. And let's say that here you would like to create a form. You can use it that way. So people who did Illustrator before, they feel really comfortable doing that. All right, because they know how to draw stuff. And I really recommend you to follow a tutorial on Illustrator, because this is the main tool to draw labels, logos, backgrounds, and graphics, prints, whatever, stickers. Yes, so if you are really creative, Adobe Xd provide to you every tools that you need. Okay, if you are really creative, you can use those tools too. But we will see later that most of the UI UX designer respect the framework they have been given to work with, such as Bootstrap, Tailwind, Material Design. But I'm going to explain that to you later. Let's pass to the text. Of course, you can create a title, okay, and of course this title you can change is size. Okay, you can move it from a space to another, because I didn't told you, but especially in here, as you see, you can of course move elements from the other, and most of the time you will create elements that you will copy paste, because here we are supposed to be on only one screen, one special screen, and so this screen should have a version in iPhone 13, iPhone 12, etc, etc, etc. So basically later what you will do is that to copy paste and just adapt the title to your screen. Okay, and all of this will be received by developers who will create later the version of your application. Up. Okay. All right. So we saw the tools in here. Down here, okay, down here, you got libraries. And libraries, okay, that's what is open in here. So if I get back, okay, we see that first I got document assets. And that is really cool because most of the time in a web application, you have to reuse the same colors, the same character styles, the same components, and we'll see how to create components later, or the same videos. And what we would have to do is that here I would like to add a new color. So let's get back on our rectangle in here, and let's say that I want to have a spatial blue. All right, or maybe, yeah, something, okay, spatial, yeah, a blue like this. And I would like to keep this blue color and reuse it later. What I can do is to go here on color and click on this button, add color from selection. Okay, and if I click on it, there we go. It saved for me the colors. And later, okay, later if I want to create a round, or let's say that I come back to a text and I want this text to be blue like this, I don't need to go here and take this to take the color. What I could do basically, okay, what I would like to do is directly to click in here, and if I click on it, there we go, I reuse the color. So it's the same for the character style. Let's say that I want to keep it, and it's the same for component. So what is component? Component is just, as you see, there is a green square around it. Component, let's say that you are creating a special element, really complex element with text inside or stuff, and you want to reuse it later. What you can do is to save it as component. So you have it in here, and you have it also in here, up there, component. Okay, and every time I will need to get this element away, so let's say I'm going to put this. Okay. I don't need to go here and copy paste. What I can do is take this component and bring it back in here. Okay, every time I can bring it back in here. Okay, and it has been saved there. All right, and look, if I change its size, it's going to change every size of the component that I got. Okay, so here it's a way to change an element that will be displayed everywhere else from the same main element. This is the original element that I got in here. All right, but let's say also, and this element could contain text, images, anything else. But let's say that, okay, I got a component for this size, but I would like to change it. I would like that this component, so basically I'm going to delete it and show it to you. I got my main component in here. All right, with some text. Okay, let's say that. Okay, I'm going to select this whole thing and I'm going to add it as a component. All right. If I copy this component in here, we see that on my screen, on my iPhone screen, my component is going out of the screen. And that's not what I want. I wish that on desktop it stays like this and on iPhone it will be smaller. What would you do is to create a smaller component alone. But what you can do in here is to declare a different state. So here we got the default state of the component. But let's say that I want to create a new state. And I would say it's the state for iPhone 13. And now I'm on this state selected. What I can do, and you will see, so I zoom out, I can reduce the space of my element. I can get back, and if I click on it, I see that I'm selecting it. And in order to do that, you can use layers down here. So when you click on layers, you see all the elements of my component which is here, such as we do on Photoshop. If I click on my main component, I could say, okay, I want it to be lower like this. I want the text to be there. And I want my rectangle to be in here. Okay? So there we go. So what I can do here, I select my component. And here we see that I got the iPhone 13 state. And if I click on it, there we go. So it's not perfect for now, but we see that I get my element in here. And if I want to go back to my default state here, I click on default states. And in one component, I can save as much state as I want, which is really, really, really useful. So if we get back in here, I got my document asset, etc., etc. Okay, let's say that I want to add in here so an icon or something like this. You would go on the web and check for a new icon to download and to put in here, which you can do. But with Adobe Xd, you got plugins. And plugins, here you see I got already some of them. Plugins helps you to get more elements displayed inside directly Adobe Xd. In short, it's going to summon element for us. So here you see that I already got icons plugin installed. You can use also UI faces, avatar for design mockup, and I got lorem ipsum. So I'm going to download lorem ipsum, okay, and we will see what it's gonna do. Okay, so I get back here, and I'm gonna close this. There we go. And here we see that I got this plugin, lorem ipsum. And if I click on it, let's say that I want to fill this text with a longest lorem ipsum. So I will click on quick lorem ipsum. Okay. So of course, sometimes you get stuff. And look, my text has changed. So if I randomly click and I click in here, okay, I have to select a rectangle. So let's say we select this rectangle and I click on it. Okay, punctuation, there we go. And I have insert text. And there we go, we got text inserted. Instead of typing, you could use this plugin to insert text. There is also another one plugin that I like a lot. It's icons for design. Yeah, sorry. And let's say that I'm going to look for a star icon. And there we go. And if I take it here, so I'm going to click in here, and I add my icon, there we go. We see that I got my icon over there. And of course, so I've typed stars and I take something else, but let's say that I want it to be the same gray color. I go there, I click, and there we go. So plugins are here to help you to to summon elements faster than going on the web, typing on Google, etc., etc. Another one, it's copying CSS from panel. So here we see that I got CSS from the element display, which is really, really cool also. Another one, and I'm going to finish on this, is that let's say that we get a round in here, and I want to fulfill with an image. I can click on fill on an image, and I can say travel. And there we go. I get my image filled in here. All right. Okay, that's cool. So plugin is really, really useful. Another thing, let's talk about now about components. Okay. And components with grid. So components with grid. Let's say that, so I'm going to remove this. Let's say that I would like that this component, so here I'm going to maybe get back on my layer and remove this element. There we go. Let's say that I would like to repeat this element all along. Okay. What I would basically do is select the element and add it like this, etc., etc. Or now that you know how to use the components, you would go here and take the components and take another one, etc., etc. You can use grids with Adobe Xd, and you got to go here on repeat grid and click on it. And once you are on the element, of course, and you see here that you got these two buttons, and you see if you click on it and you go on your right to expand it, you see that automatically it's going to repeat your element. All right, and this is really cool because most of the time you really have to repeat some components that you will create. And of course you can also doing it down like this. Okay, and if you pass your mouse on the margin, you see that you can expand dynamically the margin, and it's the same in here on the left and on the right. So this is really cool as a feature because most of the time you are going to use components and you are going to repeat them this way. I didn't mention it, but of course when you move your element like this, the grid will show you the exact position in pixels, which is really helpful when you want to center elements or just putting them up there. All right. Yes, you get many other options, and you can also show what we call the layout grid. So the layout grid, what is it? Let me have a drink. The layout grid. So basically, if you are doing some web already, you might know that on the web, you get what we call the columns and the containers. Okay, so I'm going to remove this. All right, and whoa, my element is perfect on the grid. So sometimes you get sidebars and you get containers, and they are stuck inside what we call the grid. And the grid, it's not exactly the same as Adobe Xd, but on the web here we see that we get a lot of space next to them, and there are in the number of 12 normally. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Wow. Okay, maybe I didn't count very well, but anyway. You get this grid, and this grid will help you basically to create elements that will be harmonized with most of your websites. So between elements, as I showed you, you need margin or you need padding. And here, so I'm going to hide the layout grid. So basically it's supposed to be this, okay? Didn't work, hide layout grid. There we go. The grid helps you to create elements that really fits in the same space with the regular size of desktop and mobile. And most of the time you really will use this layout grid, and we will see that just after by downloading the UI kit, because most of the CSS framework that developers use are made with these grids, are made with these large panels, these large sidebars, these large containers, etc., etc. So there is the layout grid, but there is also the square grid. Okay, when you really want to go into detail, you can use the square grid. Personally, I never use it. Okay, so all right. So this is really important. The grid is really important. Most of the time, I always use the grid, okay, to create my elements, especially when I want them to be in the center and I want them to have equal size and equal margin and padding. Okay, I'm gonna hide the layout grid. Now, I'm going to talk about the CSS frameworks and the UI kit. Okay, so if you want to start using Adobe Xd and create UI or UX experience, you have to use what we call the CSS frameworks, and there are many of them. The most known is Bootstrap. Okay, so I'm going to type Bootstrap CSS. There we go. Bootstrap, it's a framework made with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript to create web applications. Okay, with Bootstrap, developers can create very, very fast components. So when you are going to create your components or your website, or let's say that you have a project, okay, and you start a website from the right beginning like this one. What you would do is that you would first create a button, okay, inside like this, button, and you will decide of the space of the button, is height, is width, how does he act. You would say to this button that he has a regular state, etc., etc. Okay, that is good, but the problem is when the developer is going to get the project, he will have to write all the CSS down and he will waste a lot of time. So the solution, instead of writing all the CSS down, so writing Bootstrap again, he will directly use Bootstrap, download it and install it to the project. So here you see there is a lot of file, CSS, SVG, TTF, WOF, etc., etc. And he will use it to create the components. You see here, if I click on components, okay, I got here icons, but down here I got other elements such as drop down, drop up, labels. You see labels with colors, navigation bar up there. You see breadcrumbs, okay, alerts, so message with color, panels. There are a lot of other components, and I'm going to go up there because I'm not on the right version, but yeah, there we go. This is the right version. So yes, so if I click on the dock in here, I have a lot of components, and here we find again the grid we were talking about. And this grid, if we get down, we see number of column 12. And here we see that we've got some helpers to tell us which is the right size they've been coding. And you see those columns, you may recognize them. You may recognize them in here. So we see that when the developer is typing div class call, one of two, is creating this large column. So basically, it's supposed to be a column long of, let's say, yes, I think it's this. There we go. Okay, so I got my first column in here, and I got up. So I'm going to click in here. So it's not exactly this. It's this. There we go. And I got the second column in here. All right, I got those two columns, and this is what we got in here. Okay, so there is Bootstrap that provides you a lot of components such as buttons, etc. In order to follow this course, I'm going to show you two other frameworks. There is Tailoring Css. So Tailoring Css, maybe I got the link down there. No, I don't. So I'm going to type Tailoring Css. Tailoring Css is another framework. So as when you see here, it's displaying elements, etc., etc. And there is also material design by Google that provides tons of other elements also. Okay, yeah, typography, the type system, iconography, there is tons of stuff. I'm going to type material design components, it's better. Okay, components, material IO. There we go. So you see app bar, backdrop, buttons, etc., etc. All right. Why do I present that to you? I present that to you because if you want to start developing application for developers, please use a known framework. Okay, because when the developer is going to write code, he doesn't want to spend his time writing all your margin, padding, all the behavior you had thought about in your project. He wants to use directly a framework. And let's say that here we want to use Bootstrap. Okay, let's quickly build an app with Bootstrap. What I'm gonna do is that I'm going to try to download what we call a UI kit. Okay, a UI kit, it's basically all the design of, for instance, Bootstrap for Adobe Xd. The guys did the work for you guys. Okay, you get, for instance, the Apple design, Google material, IEM components, etc., etc. And then down here, what do I got? I got Bootstrap. So if I click on Get the Kit, there we go. I'm going to open it, and I'm going to get back. So I'm going to close this. Now it's open. Down here, we see that we've got Adobe Xd, and I'm going to grab it. Yes, I got to open it, so I get back in here. I'm going to, oh no, I can directly click on it actually. So I'm going to double click and just look at that, guys. Look at how amazing is this. There we go. If I zoom in, I got this Bootstrap UI kit. This design system will help our teams collaborate more closely to build a great experience for our user and partner. Here, I got all the colors that the developer will have directly when he will have installed Bootstrap. He's got also all the title size, all the buttons, etc., etc. And where are all these elements? These elements are down here. Okay, you've got all the button down here, you've got the button groups, you've got all the elements provided by Bootstrap, list grid, etc., etc. So if I get back in here, and we will finish this course on this, let's say that I want to, I'm going to, yeah, there we go. Let's say that I want to create a web application quickly. So I'm going to clean all of this first. Okay. I want to start by having a navbar. All right. So I'm going to click, and here we see that it's already a component. So I'm going to copy paste actually. And when I get here, I got my navbar down there. Okay. And let's say that I want my navbar to be as large as this. Okay. There we go. And now I'm going to hide my layout. And there we go. I got my application in here. Okay. So what I can do is that I want that button to be larger, and I would like my menu, which is here, to be more there, and up there, and there we go. Okay, I already created the first screen of my application. There's nothing yet, but if I click on this button up there, desktop preview, I can see how my website will look, and it will look like this. All right. So the idea is to complete, because we have an empty website, absolutely empty website. So I'm going to take this card up there and put a card in here. I can also use the grid, of course, but in order to follow the course, I'm going to do it faster. So let's say that, okay, I will have what we call a slider, a carousel, they call that. So I get back in here and I get my carousel there. Okay, and actually I don't want to have this. I would like to have just a card, and you will see that most of the thing match perfectly. So here I get my card. I'm going to repeat my grid, and I want to have like 4 cards like this, and I want it to be as big as this, so maybe a little bit less. But there we go. You see that everything match, this is what we like. So let's say that I want to have a second carousel, so it doesn't enter. I would have to try to find a solution, but maybe that would be the thing. There we go. Here I got my website, and how amazing is this? But what Adobe Xd is providing to you, Adobe Xd is providing to you what we call prototype. And prototype, what is it? Let's say that when I click on a card in here, I want to access an article. So I'm going to copy paste this, and let's say that this article will have a main picture. So let's say that I'm going to catch a picture somewhere else. Where can I find this? Figures. Okay. Here I got my figures element. I go there and I'm going to put it bigger, but it doesn't matter. Let's say that I'm some kind of yes, and I'm going to translate it. So if I'm not sure, I always use the grid. And when I see the grid in here, we see that I want to do something like this, that big. There we go. Hide my layout, and here. And remember, I want to add some text because it's supposed to be an article or something like this. So I'm going to put this, no border. I'm going to select the element, and I'm going to go in here and click on lorem ipsum, fill text. There we go. Insert text, and I got my lorem ipsum, and I want something bigger because otherwise, okay, let's say that we have a big text like this. Okay, Let's say that when I want to click on this button, I want to arrive in here. What I can do is up there, click on prototype. So basically I will have to start in here. I want to prototype this and look at what is displaying now. Okay? Because of Bootstrap already configured is components to create actions, and those actions, they can help me to create prototypes. So it means that when I click on a certain button, I could arrive in here, or I could arrive in here. This is just in order for the UI designer to create a fake application inside Adobe Xd. It's prototyping, okay? So basically, if I want to test my application, now it's done, and here I'm on mode prototype, and if you see here, I got interaction in here, etc., etc., okay? I can link some elements to other, and I simply have to click on this in here, and to carry me somewhere else, here, for instance, etc. So I can create tons of action. And if I get back in design mode, okay, and I click on this screen and I click again up there on desktop preview, when I pass my mouse, so here we see that we got a hover state that I didn't change, but that's no problem. Here it's like I'm on the application, like if I was on Google Chrome or Firefox, etc., etc. So if I click on it, look what happened. I'm directly moved to my destination. And this was the destination I've created into prototype in here. You see, I've said that when I click here, I want to be driven in here. But the problem is that now I have to create another button, okay? And I'm going to find one, and this small button which is here, let's say that we are going to take this one, the secondary one. I want a button to get back, okay? I'm going to change the text, get back home, let's say, okay? And as a prototype mode, as you see, okay, I can say that I want to go back in here, okay? Alright, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoy. It was a quick introduction to Adobe Xd, honestly. We could have gone deeper into the subject, but this is not necessarily what I wanted to do today. I really wanted to introduce you to this amazing software that I'm using almost every day to create application and stuff. I think on my channel I'm going to do more tutorial about it and how to create landing page, web app, mobile application, dashboards, etc., etc. I know there are other softwares like this, maybe more famous, such as Zeppelin or Figma, but I like this one. This one is really, really useful. It's fast, it's easy to understand, and you can really create great content, great templates with that. So the main idea is really to take in hand this software and begin to create UI UX experience with that. That's it. I hope you enjoy. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more content, and see you soon.